A federal report says Maine is failing when it comes to the safety of at-risk kids. And that report says any further cuts to those programs will make the situation even worse.
News 13's Greg Lagerquist joins us now. Greg, have you seen the report? What does it say?
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. In fact, here's that report, about 25 pages, and certainly many parts of this report are troubling. In fact, the feds did a top-to-bottom review looking at the state's Children and Family Services program, its foster care program, and not only is Maine failing to meet minimum standards in most cases, in some cases it is failing badly. For example, is the state substantially protecting children from abuse and neglect? Answer, no, because investigations aren't timely enough. Are children safely maintained in their own homes when possible and appropriate? No. Only 54% of the time is it yes. The standard's 95%. In fact, the state meets the standards only 20 times out of 43. That's less than half. Now, the state also faces hundreds of thousands of dollars in possible fines over this, but we're told those fines are on hold right now because the state has responded. It has an improvement plan into the feds. They're waiting for a response to that. So, Kim and Jeff, that's where we're at right now, waiting to see what the feds say about this improvement plan the state has.
Now, state lawmakers, the governor, looking to possibly cut even more out of DHHS. That can't help the situation out at all.
No, certainly not. That's what certainly makes this situation even more interesting right now. As most people know, the state is talking about more cuts to the child welfare system all throughout DHHS. And specifically, this report says, Kim and Jeff, that if there are more cuts, that could make things worse. In fact, it says one of the reasons that the problems are as bad as they are is because of the cuts that have already happened. So we're in fact just now getting some response from children's advocates on this. We're getting response from the governor on this. I'm going to go finish that report right now for 6 o'clock, but certainly this is a lot of stuff to talk about, especially in the context of the budget crisis that we're facing right now in Augusta. We'll have that for people coming up on News 13 at 6.
All right.
At risk, many of them in foster care.
So is Maine doing enough to protect them?
A new federal report says too often the answer is no.
Listen, nobody wants to cut budgets, and nobody wants to have to go through some difficult choices, but we don't have any other choice.
A major budget crisis leading to deep cuts. Why a new federal report on kids in crisis raises whole new questions about what those cuts are doing.
Public advocates for keeping kids safe say a new scathing report about child welfare in DHHS isn't good, and they're afraid things could get worse.
Look at the kids' faces, and they're incredible people. They've been through so much, and they're so resilient.
She knows many of them by name, but for now, a Lewiston doctor who makes frequent trips to Haiti can only watch and wait. Our top story tonight, a federal report just obtained by News 13 says Maine is failing when it comes to the safety of some of our kids at risk.
And the report rather says budget cuts are a big part of the problem. That's adding fuel to the fire already burning in Augusta over plans to slash programs even more as a way to solve the current budget crisis. Among the key findings in the federal report is the state substantially protecting children from abuse and neglect. No, because investigations are not timely enough. Are children safely maintained in their own homes when possible and appropriate? Again, no, only 54% of the time when the standard is 95%. Out of 43 total categories, the state meets the standards only 20 times, less than half.
And what's more, the state does face potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines right now over this. We're told those fines, however, are on hold. That's because the state has responded with an improvement plan, and they are waiting for the federal response to that. A DHHS spokesperson told me that, quote, every state fails this test the first time. In fact, we did confirm that's true. We spoke with Governor John Baldacci about the report. He acknowledges shortcomings, says there is a big effort underway right now to get more kids out of foster care and back with their families, a response to the report, but he insists more program cuts must happen.
First of all, the state got hit pretty hard by the federal government because we had too many children in foster care, in that we needed to do more. And frankly, it's the right thing to do. If you get it with a family member, an extended family member, it's better for the child, and it's more important to get that done soon than it, so that's what I'm most concerned about. Listen, nobody wants to cut budgets, and nobody wants to have to go through some difficult choices, but we don't have any other choice.
But it is that talk about more cuts that is raising more worry. News 13's Diana Ickton spoke with the state's leading advocacy group fighting for kids in Maine. They have fears that go beyond the report.
Maine Children Alliance is a public advocate for keeping kids safe across the state of Maine. And while they acknowledge these numbers are concerning, the big concern is the budget cuts that could make the Department of Health and Human Services' job to keep kids safe even harder.
That's one of the places where we're challenged.
The results are in, and they're not good.
Not alarming, no. It's a concern, obviously.
Too often, Maine falls short when it comes to protecting our kids. But despite the federal government's opinion, the state's top advocate for children says it's not as bad as it sounds.
Are Maine kids going through the state's welfare agency safe?
Generally, I have to say yes. I don't see substantial problems with kids left in unsafe circumstances.
Dean Crocker has dedicated nearly 2 decades to helping kids navigate the legal system, and he says parts of the report certainly look bad, but he says he also sees reason for optimism.
I think it's gotten substantially better, as a matter of fact.
Each year, child welfare workers and people like Dean dissect and analyze this report.
What I look at is how we're doing in improving to meet those standards.
But this year, Dean is faced with the incredible challenge
We're in a terrible budget situation.
of how to make these numbers go up while the budget goes down.
We had a problem before. This only makes it worse. That's very concerning.
Maine Children's Alliance says they are confident the numbers will be even better next year because they've been trending that way for the last 3 years. All they can hope for is that the budget cuts aren't too deep. In Augusta, Diana Ickton, News 13.
We, of course, will continue to follow the issue. In the meantime, we invite you to talk about what we uncovered in this report by heading to our page on Facebook. Tell us what you think and any experiences you've had with DHHS, both positive and negative. In fact, some of you are already doing that. You can log on to WGME.com, click on the Facebook icon to join that discussion.